All right, so the big headline today is that Tucker Carlson absolutely dunked, this is me dunked on Texas Senator Ted Cruz when it came to Iran. I actually think it's a little bit more interesting and slightly more complex and complicated than that, but let's go through it. All right, let's just go through the facts first. So Cruz was on Tucker's show that runs on X. So Tucker used to be on Fox News, obviously a giant figure. He has since sort of left Fox and is now out on his own on Twitter/X, where he broadcasts a show. He still has a huge following and is still very influential among the MAGA types. Okay, so they're going back and forth. They disagree about Iran. Tucker is very skeptical that America should get involved in this conflict, which currently is Israel versus Iran, whereas Cruz has said the American interests are at stake here, and America should, in fact, get involved by bombing some of these Iranian nuclear sites. Tucker, as only Tucker could do, he's sitting across from Cruz, and he says, "How many people live in Iran, by the way?" And Cruz is like, yeah, he says he doesn't know. So Tucker says, "It's 92 million. And Cruz is like, "Oh, okay, it doesn't matter." Then Tucker, who to his credit again, knows when he's onto something. It's like a dog on a bone. Is like, "What's the ethnic makeup of Iran?" And Cruz is like, "Well, there are Persians," and the classic example answer you give when you don't totally know what's going on. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It will remind you, as I think it reminded me, of that amazing scene in The Office where Gabe, who doesn't like Andy Bernard because Andy stole his girl, is interviewing part of an interviewing group of Andy for regional manager, and he asks him, like, "How many windows are there in New York City? How far is the sun from the earth?" Like, it's like that kind of vibes. It's awkward, and Tucker plays it to the hilt. So it's a huge, tons of attention. Tucker posted it on X on Tuesday night. People are talking about it. "Oh, Cruz looks like such an idiot. What a clown." And again, the left hates Ted Cruz, and many on the right hate Ted Cruz. So it's fodder for the hate Ted Cruz movement. Although I will note that Ted Cruz got reelected in 2024, so not everybody hates him. But I actually think there's more going on here beyond just a dunking, which is what social media highlights. I think it's actually exposes a really important rift within the MAGA movement on foreign policy that is worth exploring. So I want to get into that. But before I do that, let me say this. I want you to subscribe to this channel. I'm asking you directly because you got to ask in order to get people to do it. And the reason you should subscribe is simple. I am independent of big media, no billionaires, no corporate ownership. I'm also independent of the two parties. I am calling it how I see it without fear or favor. I hope you can support that and me. Okay, so Tucker Carlson dunks on Ted Cruz. Ha ha ha, Ted Cruz is like an idiot. He doesn't know how many people live in Iran. Okay, I didn't know how many people live in Iran, to be honest, and I definitely don't know the ethnic mix of Iran. At the same time, I am not a U.S. senator pushing for the United States to bomb Iran. So I have a little bit less responsibility. I actually think, broadly speaking, before I get into what all this means, broadly speaking, I think Tucker is basically right. I mean, again, he's being a little theatrical to prove a point, but I think it's fair to say that the burden and the onus of explaining why the U.S. should get involved in this, why now, what the end game looks like, is really useful. Because I remember Iraq and the use of force resolution that was passed there, the vote, and it was a little bit of a rush to judgment. And I think it's fair to say, okay, what does this look like? What do you know about this place? What does it look like? Does it matter if Cruz knows if there's 80 million or 90 million people in Iran? Probably not, but I don't think Tucker is wrong. In the blame pie on this, I think Cruz gets more blame than Tucker. All right, so let's talk about what this means more broadly. So Donald Trump's MAGA coalition, right? It looks from the outside very, very unified, right? 90% of Republicans approve of him. When it comes to elected officials, Congress, largely Republicans in Congress do what Donald Trump wants on all sorts of things, including foreign policy. But it's actually not as unified as it might look. And I think we saw a little bit of that with the tension between Elon and Trump, the sort of tech bro world and the sort of hardcore MAGAs. But now you're seeing a split between the kind of anti-interventionist MAGA and the establishment hawkish neocon MAGA. So, and that's a real split, right? So if you watch Fox News during primetime, you'll see Sean Hannity interviewing Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz or one of these people, and they are going to be very hawkish. They are going to note that Donald Trump said Iran can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. They're going to say, this is the moment. We need to strike, right? That's sort of the old school establishment. It's weird, I know, to think of Sean Hannity as an establishment figure, but that is the view of a kind of like a neocon, hawkish establishment. Like Mitch McConnell and Sean Hannity probably have a pretty similar view on what the next step should be vis-a-vis America, Iran, and Israel. Okay? Then, and this is really interesting because Trump has united these people, but they are different. Then you have, on the other side, you have the Tom Massey from Kentucky's of the world. You have people like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, podcaster types, and Tucker Carlson, who are not, they are not establishment figures at all. They are the outside of the establishment, and they are very anti-interventionist. They do not, Tucker is leading the charges, they do not want the United States going into this conflict or really into any foreign conflict where there's not a demonstrable U.S. interest involved and a clear end to it. So there are these two wings of the party, and Trump has, you know, over the years sort of straddled both because he has said repeatedly, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Right? I mean, he said that over and over again. At the same time, he's also a guy who's like, we gotta stop fighting dumb wars. He premised his 2016 campaign on the fact that he was opposed initially to the war in Iraq. He actually wasn't opposed to the war in Iraq. He wasn't gung-ho about it, but he wasn't opposed to it. But that's what he built his campaign on, that he said it was a bad idea and the Bushes went and did it anyway. So he's kind of on both sides of it. Yes, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. No, we should not get involved in lots of foreign conflicts where our interests aren't directly at stake. So it's actually more than just Tucker versus Trump or Tucker versus Cruz. It's about a broader split in the kind of broader Republican landscape. It's really about like, what is the Republican Party? What is the MAGA movement? Trump has been able to gloss over a lot of these ideological differences because it's sort of a cult of personality built around him. But there are real differences, and you can't always take both sides of something, right? Like he's going to have to make a choice that's going to piss somebody off. If he says, yes, we should bomb these sites in Iran, the Tuckers and the Joe Rogans of the world are going to be pissed off. If he says, no, we're not going to, the Hannitys and Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz's of the world are going to be pissed off. So it's not as simple as Ted Cruz just looking like a dumbass for not knowing how many people live in Iran or what the ethnic makeup of Iran is. It's about a real fissure within the Republican Party and a question about what does Trump really believe, and is he going to be able to straddle an issue that I don't think he's going to be able to straddle? And whichever way he chooses, he's going to piss somebody off. All right, as I said before, I hope you subscribe. It helps me do the work I love doing, and I hope you like watching. You can also like and comment on this video. That helps my stuff get out to people who are not already subscribers to my channel. Last thing you can do is just tell a few people about what I'm building here. Independent news creator, not beholden to the parties, not beholden to the special interests, not beholden to big media owners or billionaires, just beholden to myself and to you. I'm working towards 100,000 subscribers. I hope you'll help me get there. Take care.